Ferocious floods.
Levees, an embankment built on a river's edge to avoid a flood. Sandbags, a bag full of sand that you can use to build a wall to block out water if a flood is coming to the area that you live in.
Floodplains, places that flood regularly. Silt, sand, clay, and other material carried by water. Fertile, when ground has a lot of nutrients in it. Barrier, a wall made up of objects meant to block something like flood waters. Dams, walls to make a water stay in one place. Debris, waste/broken down stuff.
What is a flood?
Have you ever wondered what a flood is? A flood is when dry land is covered with wet water.
A flood is one of the most dangerous natural disasters in the whole wide world. Floods can kill more people than any other natural disaster.
Floods can affect many different types of land. They mostly occur when flat, low land meets a body of water. They only take minutes to form.
Floods can come without warning and just flood your town from nowhere. Since there is no warning, when you're alerted, listen so that you don't get killed. Causes. Ever wonder how a flood happens? Well, there are 5 causes of floods. Some causes are more common than others. One cause is heavy rain. This is a cause of floods because since heavy rain has heavy rain, it comes down fast and a lot at one time. Since so much comes down in a short amount of time, the ground cannot absorb any more water. Another cause of floods is melting snow. This is a cause because when snow starts melting, the ground might still be frozen from the cold. This will cause a flood because frozen ground cannot absorb melting snow or melting ice or any other kind. No, that was bad. Other extreme weather can cause floods. This is the 3rd cause. There are 3 causes in extreme weather that can cause floods. The first cause in extreme weather is tropical storms. Storms can pick up on the ocean and make their way to shore and can bring tide and flooding with them. Storms also have storm surge. Another extreme weather that causes floods is hurricanes. They have really, really heavy rains and those can cause flooding too. The last extreme weather that can cause floods is tsunamis. Tsunamis can cause floods because when their wave crosses shore, it is so big that it causes floods on whatever piece of land it crosses. Interesting fact to know is that earthquakes cause tsunamis and tsunamis cause floods, so it's kind of like earthquakes cause floods. Another cause is failed dams and levees. Dams and levees are man-made structures to prevent rivers from flowing too quickly or too much water flowing in the same place. But believe it or not, a man-made safety from a flood can cause a flood. They can fail by being too tall or too weak and are easy to snap in half. The last cause of floods are rivers, seas, and oceans. These are caused because they can flood over the land they meet. Oceans, seas, and rivers get flooded by when their usual flood gets messed up. It can get messed up when debris prevents it.
Good and bad effects. Have you ever heard of all the damage that a flood can do? Floods are one of the most dangerous types of extreme weather. Floods can make people very sick, which can lead to death. They can also damage buildings, bury houses, and poison drinking water, which can spread diseases. So once a flood is over, there is a lot of cleanup to be done. They leave homes filled with silt and debris, and they cause billions of dollars in damage. Floods can make people lose their homes and make transportation extremely hard. Do you think there are only bad effects of floods? Well, if you said yes, you're wrong. Even though floods have a lot of bad effects, there are some good effects, like beautiful desert features wouldn't exist. Areas that flood regularly are called floodplains. Floodplains are sometimes good places to live because nutrients soak into the soil, making it fertile there. They make land more suitable for crops. Some plants grow best in waterlogged soil. They are also magnets for migrating birds, so floods can be a good thing.
When you think of floods, you think of the type that happens the most. But have you ever thought about the other types of floods? There are two other types of floods. There is a flash flood and a snowmelt flood.
A flash flood happens really fast, like the superhero Flash. And flash floods are unexpected. It happens when it starts raining and your area starts flooding. The reason flash floods are dangerous is because they're so fast that people don't have time to get away. A snowmelt flood is where it snows so hard that when the snow melts, so much water comes out of the melting snow that it causes a flood.
Are you wondering what to do when escaping a flood when a flood is happening? If you are trying to get away from a flood, you should not drive or walk in water that is 6 inches or taller, and you should not ever camp near rivers, lakes, and creeks because they can flood quickly. For example, many people died because they tried to drive in flood water that is flowing. Another example is that you could drown if you can't near a source of water because the source of water can flood really quickly. Do you wonder what to do after a flood? After a flood, you should always be careful what you do because a flood water will make water unsafe and it will make electronics dangerous if they aren't dry. For example, if you aren't careful, the electricity will transfer into the water and you could get zapped. Another example is that you could get really sick because the flood water could have gotten into the clean water. Do you wonder if there are any tips that can help protect you if a flood occurs? In order to stay safe during a flood, you need to construct barriers and seal any cracks so the flood water will be kept out of your house and your property will not get flooded. Also, never eat food that has touched flood water because the flood water could have toxic things in it like sewage. For example, if a small flood is coming your way, you could just set up a barrier or wall that can protect your property from getting soaked in water. Another example is that if you seal cracks in your house, it could just protect your whole entire house from getting flooded.
There will always be destruction, but people come back stronger than ever before. A flood is like a huge pause in your life. Have you ever thought what happens in a flood? Well, some floods cause less damage than others. The floods that cause the most damage are the most famous floods. Today I will be talking about the worst floods. If a flood is deadly and does a lot of damage, it's famous. The worst flood of all time was in China in 1931. In the catastrophe, 145,000 people died in it. It was so bad because 3 huge rivers overflowed at the same time.
A lot of the disasters that happen in the U.S. are floods.
2 feet of fast-flowing flood water is enough to carry away vehicles. Floods are one of the most dangerous natural disasters. The end. Thanks for watching.